like to call this meeting of the Jacksonville Tourism Development Authority to order. I'd like to welcome everyone in. Appreciate the attendance. Appreciate Mr. Wright attending virtually. We have a one-item agenda. I'd like to call for the adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we got the agenda. Our agenda today is the result of our previous ad hoc subcommittee meeting where we've come up with suggestions for change in the budgetary issues. And I'm going to call on Director Chris Davis to give us a report of that meeting.
Thank you, sir. And so the subcommittee met on Tuesday, March 6th to discuss the marketing and promotions needs. And we wanted to report back to you. We feel like we gained a lot of insight during that meeting, and it was very productive. And let's see. We have a slideshow. Is there a, there we go. So when we met, some of the things we talked about was the FY21 budgeted funds and obligations. We discussed a 90-day marketing plan that we had briefly touched upon in our last session when Susan and Teresa were with us. And then it came down to additional needs post-COVID that were kind of outliers from any normal year. And it came down to a need for a transfer of money from the promotion fund balance. And so we discussed the expenses promotion fund with tourism promotion $316,435, and then the promotion fund balance of $1,004,619 for a total of $1,321,054. The expenditures that we have for FY21 were obviously Sturgeon City, $95,000, the Sports Commission, $133,800. The professional assistance was $32,000 with $30,000 of that encumbered. Advertising, $8,678 with $10,122 of that encumbered. State partnerships, events, and then the other category totaling $318,460 with $46,700 of that being encumbered. So unfunded encumbrance, professional assistance, $30,000, advertising, $10,122, the state partnerships, $6,300, other $278 for a total of $46,700. The current commitments were obviously obligations that we've already discussed and agreed upon. The Visitor's Guide, $15,800. MCCS Grand Prix Series, $18,000, Sturgeon City Earth Day, $5,000, Jacksonville Jamboree, $8,000, and then for the travel riders, $2,250, totaling $49,050. Regarding the 90-day action plan and the immediate needs that we discussed, obviously top of the list was the digital campaign. So when we initially started discussing this, we realized, particularly following up on our discussion in our last session, to remain competitive with our neighboring markets, Wilmington, New Bern, even Myrtle Beach. It's not that we feel that we're going to be in direct competition with these destinations, but more about making sure that we capture our fair share of that traveler segment. So it turned out, $21,500 for the digital campaign, $4,500 for boosted social posts, New River Splash, $6,000, additional travel riders, $6,000, and then the Visit NC FY22 programs, $12,000. With the digital marketing, This is primarily going to be social media, Google Ads, retargeting from our website, videos featuring our assets, development of a website itinerary, and with a specific target, particularly for 2 to 3 hours away, with an interest in the outdoors, fishing, and family fun. What we had to keep in mind is some of the data that we heard in our last session was very revealing with those that are ready to travel, particularly thought about January when starting to plan for summer of 2021. But you have to keep in mind that there are two separate consumer segments that fall into that. Those who haven't traveled to this point post-pandemic, and those who have been traveling throughout the pandemic. April and May certainly showed the highest expectations for additional planning, which was more along the lines of securing those destinations, booking the hotel reservations, and solidifying the plans in that regard. There's certainly the pent-up travel desire, particularly with families and the particular consumer segments that we were going to target, that had built up that travel debt throughout 2020 and just weren't able to take any kind of trip that they normally took. And then it came down to the importance of where we're at right now in the next 90 days, and it came down to timing. If we wait too long to target in this way, there will be nothing we can do after the fact. But if we act quickly, I think the measure of our success when it comes to the promotion and marketing at this time will be measured on the timeliness of our response with it. So the promotion fund issue summary was an encumbrance of $46,700, the commitments $49,050, and then the 90-day marketing plan, total of $50,000, bringing the total to $145,750. So the ad hoc committee came to consensus that there was a need for a request to authorize the transfer from promotional fund balance of $145,750, which would leave a remaining balance of $858,869. And so there was a question that came along with that, if now is not the time for such a transfer from the reserves, has there been a more appropriate time for it, considering the changes that all of us have dealt with in the last year? And we did come to the consensus that the next 90 days would be crucial in that regard.
Chris, thank you so much for that report. That was a good summary of what we did last week, and obviously needed to present it to the entire group to get requests of authorization. Is there any questions or discussions you might have on this?
I do have one. The 90-day marketing plan that 50,000, was that part of the presentation that we received the other week from Teresa and the other lady, or is this something in addition to? How did you come up with 50,000?
It was in addition to, not a total of 50,000 in addition to, but when we initially started talking about their initial ask, it just, with what we needed to do, particularly from a competitive perspective, it felt very dialed back. And so that was basically the starting question. Has it been dialed back? And if so, how much? And once we discussed it further, it was considerable. I mean, it had initially been dialed.
It was a 10,000 digital increase, is what I recall, yeah.
Yeah, and so, we never tried to take it in a direction to where we felt like we needed to shoot for the stars, but to do what we felt like was going to be most effective. And the specific consumer segment that it will target drives the highest occupancy tax, without question. And so that is the particular segment we did not want to miss the opportunity on.
So there is a plan to spend that, and I mean, it's not just, we're just not saying, here's 50,000, go spend it. We've actually got some targeted that we're planning.
Yeah, exactly, it's targeted.
Yes, and we didn't drill down to a certain degree in that area until, it's either going to be there or it's not. During discussion, and I'll just put this out there, there was a discussion of, could there potentially be the need for a contingency fund in FY22 that could kind of be available for a scenario should there be some kind of acute change in the fall or the coming winter, to where it would kind of be devoted for that if needed.
I would follow up on that and say, in the past, we've always looked at contingencies, especially for the sports commission, for various reasons. And to me, it's always a good idea to have a contingency. Otherwise, we have to keep going back to this lady for amendments and things of that nature. So I think that's a good idea. I do want to follow up on the last item on this, to target those 2-3 hours away. Has there been any was there any discussion about how to reach the military families who come to visit their loved ones here and keep them here for another day or two? How do we get the information to them that would interest them to say, oh, we can do A, B, and C here. We need to spend another day or two. Is that something that you are looking at for the future, or is there a way for us to do that? I'm throwing that out
Rick,
there
you want
just
to
to.
respond to that?
Some of that is where the itinerary program that we were talking about trying to do, so they would have itinerary for, like, if you was only here for 1 day, 2 day, 3 days, to try to increase and that we would market it from the hotel side as well as distribute it out. And if they could get an itinerary that they can do something else that keeps them there an extra day, that's going to be warranted. It's just, and we talked about different segments of business that we are targeting as well. Military, of course, and transient, and construct, work, all that. But I think the itinerary would be an asset, is what we were talking about.
There's definitely a benefit to that, even with, the majority of the hotels and motels, members of the chamber attend the hospitality group sessions. The communication could be there to where even if you were to coach the staff at the hotels, the front desk, if somebody asks what is there to do when we get there? Well, how long do you have? To where there is an itinerary that could be customizable. And regarding what you started with the target segments, that could be customizable. You could basically, and of course, Susan and Teresa could probably dive into that a little further than I could, but you could determine what demographics or what segment you specifically wanted to target.
One thing I found most interesting came out of that meeting was they revealed their ability to continue communication with their guests once they've checked in. That they've got a means of updating them and provide them additional information. So we discussed the idea of the marketing group preparing a PDF or a segment or something that they could pass on to their guests. So you're right. I think we did touch on that very well.
And that kind of information, Rick can attest to this, is always golden.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Anybody? Ernie? Any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. It's good report, Chris.
All right, great. With that,
I don't have any questions from.
all right, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, with that, I'm going to ask for an authorization to appropriate the fund balance to cover the tourism promotion plan for the last quarter of the fiscal year. Included is $99,050 for promotional activities, other expenditures of $46,700.
So moved.
second.
Second. All right. Motion and second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 All right. Well, thank you very much. That was, I think it's a great thing that we've done. We've responded. We've got a kind of a new set of conditions. We're looking for an uptick. We've picked up on it and responded to it, and hopefully this will show some good results. If there's nothing left to come before us, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
meeting's complete.